Startling warnings for students in the East Valley. What health officials are telling schools to look out for Monday morning following this wildland fire. And an inclusive celebration in the Coachella Valley. How you and your family can take part in the music, dance, and rich tradition.
And it's certainly a cooler start to this weekend compared to the week we had. But of course, next week we have lots of things to look forward to. I'll have details you don't want to miss coming up.
First in the Coachella Valley, you're watching KMIR TV Palm Springs, where the news comes first. KMIR News starts now.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sarah Sanchez. First, on KMIR tonight, the Riverside County Department of Environmental Health recommends local schools take precautions after Thursday's fire in Mecca. That fire burned through grape stakes, which may contain chemicals in the ash, such as arsenic. Environmental health staff have taken wipe samples of surfaces, but results won't be available until next week. This may affect two schools in the area, Mecca Elementary School and Saul Martinez Elementary. Out of an abundance of caution, the environmental health is recommending residents and schools in the area clean outdoor tables, benches, playground equipment, and pet dishes. The beat of the drums echoes in Indio today as the Cabazon Band of Mission Indians hosts a powwow. KMIR's Tyler Harrison takes us there.
We all dance to the same drum.
The 36th annual Indio Powwow.
We're sharing history, we're sharing culture, we're expressing ourselves as tribes through dance, through singing. And a lot of tribes have different origination stories of their dance, whether it's the traditional, the grass, the straight, the fancy, the jingle. We're not singling out one specific tribe, whereas all the tribes come together and we all celebrate together.
Togetherness through the universal language of music.
It doesn't matter if you listen to native music or rap or hip hop, music is healing. And as a result of the music, our body interprets those feelings and we dance. It doesn't matter if you dance at a powwow. Dance is a celebration of life. Music is a celebration of life.
A celebration you're invited to attend.
The dancing is phenomenal. You can tell how proud they are to be here and to perform, particularly like the drumming. The drumming is something that you can't forget, the beat and the pounding.
Tyler Harrison, KMIR News.
The powwow continues tomorrow. Doors open at 11 a.m. The grand entrance is at noon. Well, a Coachella Valley boxer is competing for the gold medal at the AIBA Women's Youth Boxing Championship in India. Citlali Ortiz is 3-0 at the tournament and will be fighting for the gold medal in the welterweight division. Ortiz has 4 gold medals already and has won 3 national championships. She trains at the world-renowned Lee Espinosa Coachella Boxing Club. In round 2 of the championship in India, Ortiz was named the most stand-out boxer. Ortiz already has her eyes set on the 2020 Olympics, and we hope to see her there as well. Now let's get a quick check of the forecast tonight. Luzdelia Caballero standing by with a look at what we can expect on this beautiful Saturday night. Hi, Luzdelia.
Hey, Sarah. Well, things are looking just beautiful for this weekend and even better for next week. Although we will be in the high and mid 80s this weekend, our lows are going to be absolutely outstanding as we hit low 60s, potentially high 50s. And of course, moving on into next week, we are going to break into the 70s. But as of right now, we just have to bear with this warm weekend and know that it's only temporary. And of course, next week will be a lot cooler. Almost 15 to 18 degrees cooler as far as current temperatures go. 80 degrees out of our studio here in Palm Desert, 84 out of La Quinta, 80 to our beautiful folks in Indio, and in Cathedral City, 77 degrees. As far as wind speeds go, well, here's the breakdown. Rather calm along the valley floor. Moving into tomorrow should be the same case, but as those Santa Anas come in, they will impact us here in the valley, which means we will expect quite some wind on Monday and lots of it on Tuesday. So, of course, it's going to make those overnight temperatures go into the 50s, and we already see a significant difference going in from just a couple of days ago to now. So by 6, 78 degrees, and we are dropping and dropping fast. 72 by 8, by 10, 69, 66 by midnight, and by 2 tomorrow, we're looking at 64 degrees. Sarah.
Delia, well, a 70-year-old California man who spent almost 40 years of his life in prison for murders he didn't commit is now free. California Governor Jerry Brown pardoned Craig Coley yesterday. In 1978, Coley was convicted of raping, beating, and strangling a woman and killing her 4-year-old son. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Investigators later determined a key piece of DNA evidence did not match Coley's genetic code. Coley had always maintained his innocence, and investigators now believe the detective who handled his case either mishandled the investigation or framed him.
When they arrested me, I told them, you can do whatever you want to me, but don't stop looking for the person that did this, because you have the wrong man.
Brown ordered Coley's immediate release, making him the longest-serving California prisoner to be granted clemency. Well, the man who was going to launch himself into space on a homemade rocket to prove the Earth is flat has canceled his flight. Self-taught rocket scientist and daredevil Mad Mike Hughes planned on launching his rocket today in California. He was forced to cancel his flight because he did not have the required federal permits to launch his homemade steam-powered rocket. But Hughes still plans to launch sometime next week. And just weeks after surviving the mass shooting at the Route 91 Music Festival, a man is struck and killed in a hit-and-run crash. It happened November 17th along a highway in Nevada. Roy McClellan was hitching when a driver plowed into him. His wife Denise, who was also at the concert with him, says this was an outcome she never expected.
I don't understand why he wasn't taken at the shooting, but a month later he gets taken this way.
Well, the person and the vehicle responsible for the death were later found. Charges against the driver are still pending. People bid farewell to a U.S. Border Patrol agent who was killed in a mysterious attack last week. A private funeral mass was held for Agent Rogelio Martinez in El Paso, Texas today. He and his partner were found severely beaten at a tunnel structure near the Mexican border last Saturday. Martinez died from his injuries the next day. His partner is recovering. The partner says he doesn't remember anything about the attack. Attorney General Jeff Sessions also attended the ceremony for Martinez. Federal officials are still investigating. A young girl is injured while steering a stolen car in New York. Police say a man sat the 8-year-old on his lap and let her steer the car Thanksgiving night. Authorities say after the car crashed, the 36-year-old abandoned the child without calling the police. The girl sustained a fractured arm and a rib and a punctured lung and head injuries. Brett Reynolds faces several charges, including vehicular assault and child endangerment. President Donald Trump is in Florida for the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Trump has picked a fight with a national news magazine on Twitter this morning and faces a potential federal agency showdown when he gets back to Washington. NBC's Chris Pallone reports.
President Donald Trump laying low in Florida Saturday. When he returns to Washington, he faces a federal agency standoff and an escalating probe into his campaign's ties to Russia. The president named Management and Budget Director Nick Mulvaney interim head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, while the agency's former director named his own successor before he left, leaving who's actually in charge an open question. Late today, President Trump tweeting, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, has been a total disaster as run by the previous administration's pick. Financial institutions have been devastated and unable to properly serve the public. We will bring it back to life.
The president has appointed somebody who thinks the organization has no reason to exist, similar to what he did with the Department of Environmental Protection.
Trump allies are downplaying news that former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's lawyers are no longer consulting with Trump's lawyers in the Russia probe.
Whether that means he's going to cooperate against other persons or just try to negotiate a better deal for himself remains to be seen.
And in a less serious matter, Trump this weekend claimed he passed on being Time Magazine's Person of the Year, saying he was informed he would probably be chosen for a second straight year.
The American people don't give a hoot who's on the cover of Time Magazine, and we wish very deeply that our president would concentrate on other things. Time responded on Twitter, "The president is incorrect about how we choose Person of the Year." Chris Pallone, NBC News.
In news across the world, an active volcano in Mexico. The country issues warnings for residents to stay indoors after ash travels for miles. And the death toll rises in Egypt following an attack on a mosque during prayer. Which militant group is responsible for the attack? More ahead. Spectacular eruption southeast of Mexico City as a Mexican volcano spews smoke and ash high into the air. Take a look at this video. The volcano had 3 eruptions yesterday. One reached 2.5 miles into the sky. 2 more explosions overnight spread ash over the villages and fields south of the volcano. Popo, as it is known, regularly emits smoke and ash. Well, Egypt begins burying the victims of the deadliest terror attack in the country's modern history. A funeral procession marched today at dawn. A school teacher and his son were just 2 of the worshipers inside the mosque when about 30 militants carrying an ISIS flag attacked. NBC's Bill Neely has the latest from Cairo, and we need to tell you, some of this video may be disturbing. And it looks like we don't have that story for you, but we'll be sure to update you in our later newscasts with that. Well, coming up, a moose on the loose. How the large animal has been creating mayhem for a community all day. But first, Luz Delia.
And of course, we are all ready to be out of the 90s, even out of the 80s. And I have absolutely great news for you to start our new work week. Details you don't want to miss coming up.
Ahead for us, new details on how militants attacked a mosque in Egypt as the death toll there surpasses 300. Plus, a twisted tale as a Florida teen is under arrest after trying to enter Canada. Police say he's a person of interest in the death of his grandmother. Also, the unusual treatment more and more doctors are prescribing for a variety of ailments. No pills involved. And a great story about a man who adopts senior animals, inspiring so many others to do the same. All ahead on Nightly News.
All right, and it was definitely a very warm Saturday. Certainly doesn't feel like post-Thanksgiving at all out there, but Luzdelia Caballero is standing by with a look at the forecast, and will we start to see some cooler temperatures, Luzdelia?
Absolutely, and it starts today, so we are going to be, or we were in the high 80s for peak heat of the day, but of course we are going to cool, and we're really going to feel that tonight going into tomorrow, and especially on Monday when we go down from starting the weekend in the high 80s and going to the 70s. So we're going to start the next work week in the mid 70s, which is very, very good news. And Sarah, that is definitely where we need to be for this time of year. But of course, I want to thank all of you for continuing to send in beautiful pictures. And this is the time to go out and explore the beautiful desert because the weather is certainly going to allow for lots of outdoor adventures. And of course, these are all photos that were posted on Instagram, and each and every one of you hashtag KMIR News. And of course, this is why we are featuring you on our wall. Current conditions out of Palm Springs International, 81 degrees, dew point of 41, and humidity on the rise at this hour. But I do want to note that November has been a very dry month, which is why we have seen several fires break out the last couple of days. So peak heat of the day, Sarah mentioned that it was very warm today. It was 89 degrees. We are well above average for this time of year. Back in 1933, it was 93 degrees. So we are under that, but of course, well over what is average for this time of year. But there is a cool down ahead. Wind speeds aren't going to affect our temperatures tonight, but of course, going into the next work week, as those Santa Anas really pick up, we are going to be affected here in the desert. But for tonight, it's going to be calm along the valley floor, and we are going to welcome tomorrow the very same way. As far as temperatures across the valley, for tomorrow, take a look at this. We are going down slowly but surely, 87 degrees in thermal, 84 in Mecca. 88, a popular number on the board. Of course, as we go into our mountain areas, we'll see a significant drop. 70 degrees, flirting with the 60s tomorrow in Idlewild, 79 degrees in Morongo Valley, and to our troops in 29 Palms, 84 degrees. And as I mentioned before, we are starting or ending the weekend in the 80s, but then on Monday, we break into the 70s, 74 degrees, Tuesday, 76, Wednesday, same deal. And of course, we have partly cloudy skies for most of the week next week, but the lows, we are in the low 60s and mid 50s. Sarah.
All right, thanks, Luzdelia. Now here's that story we were bringing you earlier. The death toll has increased, and Egypt has retaliated after the deadliest terror attack in the country's modern history. The brutal attack killed more than 300 worshippers at a mosque in northern Sinai. But NBC's Bill Neely reports from Cairo, and once again, some of this video may be disturbing.
Yes, hello. Well, it's the end of a second day of mourning here in Egypt, and there's still deep shock in the capital city, Cairo, and across the country at this horrific massacre. The death toll rose some time ago to 305, including 27 children. 120 people or so are still being treated in hospitals across Egypt. There has been a military response after the massacre. President Sisi has sent up his warplanes. They've been attacking vehicles and arms dumps said to have been involved in this attack. And the Egyptian government says there were up to 30 gunmen involved. They surrounded the mosque. They were at every window, every door. Now, ISIS hasn't claimed responsibility, but there's no question it was responsible for this attack. It's carried out dozens of such attacks in the Sinai Peninsula, but usually it targets security forces. For President Sisi, this is a big issue. Yes, you can have a military response today and tomorrow, but he stands for stability and for security. And there are neither of those things in the Sinai Peninsula at the moment. People are deeply worried. There have been mass funerals here, mass graves in the towns around that mosque, and deep, deep anger at what has happened. This, not just the worst terror attack in Egypt's history, but one of the worst attacks ever in the Middle East. Back to you.
And back here at home, Black Friday is a big deal for major retailers in America, but today is for the little guys, how American crafters are going up against the big box stores. Coming up. A moose on the loose creates quite a stir in the suburbs north of Toronto, Canada today. The big 2-year-old bull was caught on camera dodging traffic, galloping through neighborhoods and knocking down a fence. The moose is estimated to weigh between 12 to 1,500 pounds. It was first spotted around 7 a.m. as it made its way to a local airport property near a runway. The moose was not captured, but animal experts believe it's taking a well-deserved nap after a long day on the run. Well, Etsy sellers joined Small Business Saturday hoping for a Black Friday-like boost in sales. Kate Rogers has the story.
Etsy seller Matthew DeMio has been prepping for the holidays since October. The shopping season is key for DeMio, owner of Mateo Mattia in New Rochelle, New York, when sales for his handmade leather goods can increase by more than 100%.
It's exciting to be around other small retailers and small makers. It's people who think like me, who act like me and work like me. So we're all sort of in the same court together.
The American Express sponsored holiday is in its 8th year and has seen grassroots support for local businesses like this one increase in a big way. Last year, some 112 million consumers reported shopping small, up from 95 million the year prior. And what's more, they spent more than $15 billion on the day. This year, some 7,000 communities nationwide are gearing up to participate in the day.
A small merchant can give that personal service, that personal touch, that recommendation, the fact that they know you, they see you, you come back on a daily basis. That's really, really important to consumers, that personalized service. I think that's what a small merchant, a small establishment, small retailer can do to make a huge difference. That customer experience, that unique one, that personalized experience is what makes it special.
That customer experience is what Sarah Stroman believes sets her apart from big box competitors. She'll also be at the Etsy Sellers Marketplace tomorrow selling her handmade stationery. During the holidays, she sees her sales go up by some 50%.
It's completely different to buy something from somebody who's actually physically made it and can tell you about it. And I think that's important.
And data show customers agree with Stroman. According to Amex and the National Federation of Independent Business, 61% of consumers said they are aware of Small Business Saturday, and 82% plan to either shop or dine small on that day.
Well, now that Thanksgiving is over, the countdown to Christmas is on, but one hotel in San Diego is flipping things upside down this year. Find out how next. A San Diego hotel flips a Christmas tradition on its head, displaying an upside-down Christmas tree in the lobby of the Hotel del Coronado. Staffers say they went out on a limb for this year's theme, a whimsical Christmas. Guests appear split on the topsy-turvy tree, with some calling it disrespectful and some calling it fun. I don't know.
I go there every year.
Yeah, I don't know. She was talking about how she loves this hotel. It's pretty fancy. All right, quick check of the forecast, though, before we head out.
Well, it is a warm weekend, but check out those numbers on starting Monday. We are in the mid-70s pretty much for the rest of the week, and those lows are simply breathtaking and ideal for this time of year. Perfect weather to go outdoors, go hiking, go running, go walking, just do anything. I am super excited about these temperatures.
Yeah, but it's still a little bit breezy, though, right?
Yeah, winds are going to start picking up on Monday because those Santa Anas are going to move into the valley, or impact the valley at least as they're moving.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Luz Delia, and make sure to join us back here at 6 and then at 11. In the meantime, have a great night.